Hi, my name is Travis Kenny, and you're listening to Full Buddy Cast. Hey, I kind of teased this episode with a picture, maybe trolled just a little bit. I posted a picture, upcoming episode, this guest, and it was a picture that the Seattle Mariners had tweeted out of Joel McHale throwing the first pitch. But in the background is my guest, Erik Madrid. He's our guest on today's episode. I grew up with this guy. This is the friend that I used to do all the sort of crazy stuff with. You have those friends too. Anyway, we got in trouble, talk about some of those stories. And then after high school for him, where his Coug song went viral. He had a rap career after high school, and then so we talk on that. He's also been a super supporter of Full Buddy Cast, and so just appreciate him in my life there. And then I also want to give a shout out on April 13th at Cole Street Brewery. We'll be doing a live recording. That is a Tuesday night, 6 p.m. April 13th, Cole Street, 1627 Cole Street. Please come, please hang out, please have fun. And then also the week after, April 20th, we'll be at Bordeaux Wine Bar in Enumclaw doing a live recording as well. So anyway, stay tuned for more information on that. Thank you so much and have a great day.
Get up. Welcome to the greatest of the greatest, a podcast that you never knew you needed, with interviews from people you have never met, or maybe you have once or twice, asking questions and knowing more than you want to know about them. You are listening to Full Buddy Cast.
An imperial stout with almonds, chocolate, coffee, and vanilla bean.
It's the Air Thick
It is a
Madrid.
pastry stout.
Air Thick Madrid. It's a what?
It's a pastry stout.
All right.
It's kind of the hip new thing.
Cool. Like the Simmons.
I should say trendy new thing. I don't think it's hip at all.
The Simmons with the pastries. That's my Jay-Z. It's my Hova. In New York. All right, everyone. Thanks for listening. This is just kind of like a goofball get together with an old friend.
That's my intro on your pod, is a goofball. This is my debut.
Got a big idiot here. No,
I've been called worse by better people. So
all right, let me give you a genuine one. Okay, so everyone has that best friend that they had in high school, junior high. They were on the same team. They were kind of lumped in on the same, teams. Yeah, like same interests. Erik, I don't know how we became friends. It was JJ. I know you went to JJ, and then, but I think it was junior high that we kicked it off.
yeah, I don't remember. I was trying to think of this the other day. My earliest memory of you, I remember playing basketball with everybody at JJ, but I don't remember that we really befriended each other until junior high.
Yeah, it was a junior high thing. I don't know how that even came about either, except I think that we would just, were you on the Pittsburgh Pirates? Were you on the?
Oh yeah,
with Les.
Yeah.
With Les.
Oh my God, that goes back. That's JJ. How did I forget about that? Because I just unearthed that team photo.
Yes.
Last summer.
Little
or
League.
whatever. Yeah.
Little League. Where you moved up from the T-shirts with the screen print.
They had the legit
and then it went to the silk
polyester
uniform
jerseys.
And so Erik has always been like that friend from high school, junior high days, where you'd go on the same vacations, you'd spend the night, you'd get into trouble. You'd have just fun, stupid times. Like, and I'm saying stupid times. We created a pillow game where we beat the heck out of each other. It's only funny to us, but it's just that game that you come up with one night when you got the 3D Doritos and the Mountain Dew or whatever just flying through your veins, and you're like, let's just start punching each other and get away with it. We worked at Safeway together, went to Young Life camps together.
Two memories I tried to black out.
It was still a fun time.
It
was still a fun time. We ran with the same crew for the most part. And then college hits. I went down to California. He became just a Wazoo legend over at Wazoo.
Oh, wow. Now you are being nice.
Yeah. Yes. And then he got into, I want to say, the medical insurance field.
Yeah.
And then I got into eventually the property and casualty insurance field.
We're losing them.
But then,
This is where they hit skip and move on to a Hollering with Hollenbeck episode.
but so Eric, we'll unearth a few things, but we've recently reconnected as of, I want to say last year. We're in the same fantasy football league. We golfed. Eric came out, brought beers, brought a jersey for me that I wear around the house.
Where is it? I thought it was going to be hanging up in here.
It's hanging up. I honestly wear it.
Nice.
and one day, a few episodes, pardon me, a few episodes back, I was talking to Joey, and he was like, "Yeah, those jerseys, like if you put those on without your pads, they're super tight. They show every wrinkle, every roll of your gut." And I'm like, "Yeah, I know. I wear this one that Eric gave me." So anyway, but yeah, and then also super huge. Now he's texted me. He's a Patreon subscriber, which is awesome. He's always given me advice. He's kicked some advice my way. I've used it. I've gotten lazy and haven't used it. And now today, not on the pod, but we've gotten together. We're gonna go down to Cole Street, hit up Bordeaux Wines, kind of take the tour of the town real quick, and then just kind of chat pod.
Yeah.
But I really wanted to give him the perspective of what it's like to be a guest, so that he can give me feedback on that. So that, and then he also gets the tour of the huge lab we got going, Pod Lab.
Sexy digs.
Yeah. So
you hooked me. I didn't know we were going to be doing this today. So
Yeah.
you kind of peer pressured me into it. It was like as soon as I show up, it's like sit down. So
yeah.
yeah, but
So
no, I'm glad to be here, man. This is cool. I like the setup. I like that I recognize most of the shit that's stapled to your walls from when I tried to trade away these items from you back in the day for cheaper cards and posters.
Yes. Yeah. We've also he's got quite the baseball card collection going right now. So we've kind of been nerding out over that a little bit.
Yeah, it's been cool. So what I love about just your pod and what's cool for us, because thank you for that very glamorous intro.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have you rewrite my resume for me someday, starting with being a Patreon of the pod at the top, of course. But I love, even though like a lot of the people that you have on the pod, I don't remember being close friends of yours growing up, like we were.
Right.
But at the same time, I think the common denominator is like that. Like for you and I, we drifted apart for over 10 years.
Right.
Just life shit.
Yeah.
Right? Nothing bad at all.
Right.
Just kind of, it happens, and it happens to a lot of us.
Right.
But over the last 2 years or so, listening to your pod, connecting with you one way or another has been dope. And I like listening to you talk about other stuff like that with other people. So it's cool to be part of it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you very much for that as well. The thing for me, it's like, I'll get this question all the time. It'll be basically with people that have just found out, like, oh, you do a podcast. In fact, I ran into Donald Jute. Donald Jute was like, hey, I listened to Mark Herbert Schmidt's one, and we kind of caught up there. And he's like, and everyone really has like that same type of, hey, I got stories, and everyone has stories. And I'm like, hey, come on, man.
Yeah.
Noah Greger back in the day, he's like, messaged me. He said, the reason I listen, he goes, I can see everyone on Facebook. I can see the videos, Instagram, the pictures, but to hear the voice and to hear the stories and the laugh and the speech inflection, all of that kind of brings people back, And so something that was just a hobby that's just been kind of fun for me is now starting to pick up a little bit of momentum around town. And, again, it's nothing to me. It's not like I'm not trying to be Joe Rogan. I'm not trying to be a huge network, but it's nice to have people that listen and say nice things like that, man. You're going to write my resume too. So appreciate that.
Yeah, I kind of get that. Like, it was, I'm guessing that you feed off of that. Like, you like not necessarily the attention, but people that are like, on a week where you get more views or listens than you ever did, it probably perks you up a little bit.
It does. And I had to use Andy Cardenas as like clickbait. I don't know if you saw that, but Andy had COVID back in November. and like he told the whole story, and then I'm like, all right, it's time to get my feet in the mud a little bit. I need to go like post, hey, his COVID story's coming out tomorrow. And people were messaging me like, is he okay? Is he in the hospital? I'm like, you're going to have to listen.
You recorded it before he passed. I am only saying that because I know he didn't.
He didn't pass.
Yeah.
No, yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, people were like,
funny.
and I was like, I felt dirty.
You're using people.
Yeah.
You're pimping us out.
And it was one of the most downloaded episodes. It was people were probably like waiting to hear if it was something in the background, like a respirator. But no, he was good. He was fine. He's back, fully recovered.
So what did you want to pod with me about? Because you stole most of our good stories growing up for other episodes
and
with other people.
Yeah, and I said it mostly from my point of view, and I made you look like a jerk.
No, see, one of the best things about what you do is you're a way better storyteller than I am. Like, especially on the fly. Like, you remember details that I don't remember until you say them. So, and even I probably was the protagonist in those moments.
Oh, man, we got into so much. Well, when I say everyone has a relative idea of getting in so much trouble. Like, for me, one time I got almost a write-up at Kibler because I was spitting at Dan Andrew and he was spitting back at me, and I'm like, the research teacher's like, okay, we're writing you up, and I'm like, I didn't know spitting, so I wasn't like get in trouble type of kid, and some of the stuff that we got into, it wasn't like it was super bad, but it always made for a funny story. Yeah, so I mean,
they're all funny looking back because the trouble was never that serious for us. Fortunately, we came close a few times, but
came close. I think you kept going, like you. I remember the time. I remember hearing this story. I don't know if you want to talk about all of this, but all I remember is you like driving and throwing ice cubes at signs as you were driving by, and then
I forgot about that one too.
Next thing you know, you're getting pulled over, kind of a thing.
Yeah, that's super silly.
It's
just shit you get in trouble
dumb
for,
stuff,
especially around here where there's not all that much trouble to begin with. So any little disturbance gets the cops' attention. Like that's not even a story worth repeating.
Right.
We were throwing ice cubes on the windshield of my car coming back from the Supermall and using the windshields to flick them off onto the side of the street and pissed off somebody going the other direction. So they called the cops, and by the time we got to Enumclaw, we got pulled over.
Yeah, you had like a blockade waiting for you guys.
Yeah, there was like 5 or 6 cars. That light at the top of the hill, right when you crest into town after driving past the Yellow Beak and the feed store. It's like there was like 6, 7 cop cars waiting to pull me over in my citation.
So there, and here's the thing, like everyone's had a cop story, but like when your mom's the dispatch,
you got to put some respect on my mom. Like she was a dispatcher for a while, but she ran that. She was like the office.
She was.
Manager, the bookkeeping manager, the record manager, but then the dispatcher's manager too.
So she was never on the mic.
No, she was totally on when she first started there. But yeah, I'm just talking trash. But no, she it's a small enough force that everybody's connected. And then my dad is Washington State Patrol in Enumclaw. And I think there's 5 or 6 guys that are stationed out of that shop, and then a dozen people that work out of Enumclaw. So when everybody's lined up at the top of the hill to pull us over, it's like, oh, I know all of you, and you know me, and this is embarrassing, mostly for my mom.
Yeah. And then did she ever kind of get on your case at all?
Oh, of course. No, I fucked up a few times that came to her via something like that, where get in a little bit of trouble in town and she catches wind of it, and then that was always the worst of it, but never anything serious.
Yeah,
because nothing serious ever happened. Like
the worst thing that we ever got in trouble for. Can we talk about that?
Which one is it?
It was the video.
Oh yeah, you already told that story.
Yeah, now that people
this is a fun one.
If people are just jumping on, they haven't listened to the other 300 episodes. But what are you gonna say? We should what? We should reenact that?
No. we should find you. From the looks of this place, you probably still have a VCR. I don't. But
I do. I have 2 of them.
So somewhere the tape exists. We should unearth the footage.
Dude, we should.
That would be hilarious.
We should. So we got the video camera out. I think it was Ryan Hosman, Matt Bergerson, you and I think maybe Zach Jennings. I'm not quite sure.
I think it was just the 4 of us.
The 4 of us. Yeah,
we were riding around and
just taking
somebody's
stupid
truck.
video. In fact, I think the worst trouble we got out of was we were making like some dumb like pretend movie. This is where Video Productions and Tom Green, like high school, all kind of collided all at once.
I forgot Tom Green was once a hero of yours.
He retweeted me the other day.
I saw that.
But you or me or I don't know. All I know is that there was like this. Remember, those like insulated like polyester vinyl, whatever you want to call it. Lunch boxes that you would throw.
Yeah.
Okay. We pretended that was a bomb and we threw it out the window at one of us while we were driving. And so it was reckless driving. That's the most trouble. Like when your mom and your dad wanted to watch the video and they were the most mad about that. They're like, that's reckless driving. We're like, we're by ourselves going 25 miles per hour.
I don't remember that one at all.
Anyway.
Yeah.
So what we did was we're doing, and I think Matt had like, tinted windows on his truck. And so, you could kind of have a camera and videotape. So we went to the QFC because we worked at Safeway. Do you want to do it there? So we went to the QFC parking lot and we were just videotaping ourselves, acting like idiots and doing dumb things and trying to get reactions. Well, I'm like, hey, I know what I'll do. I'll take my gray colored shirt. Okay. Gray on this one. Okay. And I unzipped my fly, tucked my shirt in and pulled my shirt through my fly, so it looks like there was something dangling there. And then I walked around the parking lot. And we were getting people's reactions, which wasn't much. It was like, and next thing you know,
you were waving at families coming out of the video store. I wasn't just walking around getting reactions. You were going out of your way to give friendly little waves to people so they'd look at you and then notice there was something sticking out of your pants.
Oh, that's the truth.
It was good.
Oh man. So anyway,
It was a bad idea, but it turned out funny.
like two cop cars just vroom vroom.
Yeah.
And they walk up, and of course Erik pops out because Eric's going to be the hey.
I got the camera going.
Yeah, I got the camera waving, and then
one of my mom's best friends.
Yeah.
Still,
If you watch the video, you hear them say, "Turn the camera off, Erik." And so then the cops pull me aside. I start to get in like 16, 7. Yeah, I think we were 16. I think we were just
this is like 25 years
yeah.
ago.
It wasn't that. Yeah, it wasn't last week. And so I just start breathing heavy. Like waterworks are about to hit. Cops are called. I'm getting talked to the cops are talking to me. There's a football game that night too. And I'm supposed to spend the night at Eric's, so I'm like, I'm going to go to jail. And so, anyway, they pull me aside. They say, hey, this lady who had this minivan of kids called us and said that you had exposed yourself to them. Is that true? And I'm like, it was a T-shirt. It was a T-shirt.
We have the video. We should have shown them. We have the video proof.
We did. We didn't do anything. And so so they made me go over to that mom in her minivan, and I had to apologize to her kids. I'm sorry for what you may have seen or didn't see. It wasn't something I know. It was very dumb. I'm very sorry. And she was cool with it. 25 years ago, she's probably 70 now. No, I'm kidding. No, she was probably like a young mom. She was like maybe 28, 30. So yeah, 25 years. She's probably in her 50s. I wonder if she still says, "Remember that time?" With that idiot.
Probably more about what the kids say to their therapist because you fucked them up. That's probably what. No.
That's probably true.
Have you ever had any other instances where either your parents or someone else as a kid made you apologize to somebody? Like I have one or two like.
Yes,
those memories I remember those like, oh man, you just reminded me of stuff like that.
I
sucks. Forgot that's what the police officers that got us in trouble that day made you do.
Yeah, I've had to do that, and I'm not going to share what I had.
I'm not either. Yeah,
but yes,
just occurred to me thinking
it's the worst, and it's when you're a kid, you say something stupid. Like, thank goodness cancel culture wasn't around when I was like 8, because I'd be a canceled 8-year-old probably. I would be done. That's what I've done.
I think we all would.
Yeah. No, it's crazy. And then even now, when I'm sharing some of these stories, I'm thinking back as I'm hitting 300 episodes. I'm like, oh gosh, like, are they going to unearth something that I said as a joke? Hopefully not. I mean, it's so scary that you're just like, I'll just delete everything and walk. I'm just gonna fold up shop and go move to West Virginia and plan my future, kind of a thing.
There's no future in West Virginia.
There's not.
For you or anybody.
That's what I'm saying. But yeah, so there's times. What some of my favorite. Let me talk about that. Some of my favorite Erik memories. This is where I knew Erik is just a good dude. We read it spit on my grave. No kidding.
Nobody's gonna get that joke. Who was it that texted you the other day or called
Jacqueline
you? Oh, that's
Morgley,
right, that's right.
or Lobel now. Lobely. I don't know how to say her last name.
Worst movie ever.
No, but
Skip that one.
As somebody that I grew up in the church, as a Christian, and Erik every once in a while would drop the old JC. And and he knew that bothered me. And he would actually catch himself. And he'd say, "Geez, us guys are bad." Or cheese and rice, right? He would catch him.
Probably the cheese and rice. Jesus Christ is probably like what started my rap career.
Holy cow, that rhymes.
Say whoa.
Yeah, no, but yeah. So that was the good dude part. And I remember specifically. That we were walking away from a baseball card shop, and the one in town.
Well, there was two in town once upon a time.
Yeah, was there?
How crazy? Well, I don't know. Maybe it was just one that moved.
We need to open it back up, bring it back. But
sounds like you should look at this place. You can make it happen.
Yeah, look, this looks like the back room of a card shop. This should be. You know what? I'm turning this thing into a card shop.
Yeah.
But Erik. He dropped the JC, and then I was like, and then he bounced it back. Hey, and then like I'm like, what a good dude. And then like he looks at me with a big grin, like an Erik Madrid sized grin, like a huge all tooth, just big smile, and he like pulls out like 4 packs he had in his pocket.
Allegedly. Allegedly, are you suggesting I stole cards?
I don't know.
Snitch.
This is actually an intervention and a setup.
Am I going to get arrested again?
Yes,
Every time I hang out with you, there's a 50% chance Enum Club PD shows up. I don't have connections there anymore, man.
Oh,
they probably still have nothing better to do.
Statute of limitations at this point.
True.
Yeah, and that card shop's out of business. They're gonna. I want my $12. But yeah. So and then E-Drid. So here's another good memory. We both made the C team. We were too good for JV and varsity, and so we both made the sophomore team with Coach Mac Miller. Coach Miller.
Coach Miller. Who was the sophomore team coach? I thought that was Z.
No, Z was freshman. And then Miller was ours. But we were an incredible duo.
Little sophomore, yeah.
Yeah, like I would be running, I ran point guard for a little bit on that team, but Erik would be the post move dude. It was like Stockton and Malone, man. It was.
I think it was probably more like Hornacek and Malone.
or just like Manute Bull. No. It's probably like Steve Scheffler and Malone.
Yeah, there we go.
But I would just keep feeding him. I would just put him and I had like this weird I just knew where to throw him the ball, and he would just boom, take it, turn, and get a nice bank shot in. I would have plenty of assists. He had plenty of points and plenty of offensive rebounds if he missed his own shot.
That's the only reason I had points is because I could grab my own offensive boards and then finally get it in after 2 or 3.
Yeah, there was a point where I think Erik was going for the record. He just bounced it off the backboard and catch it, bounce it back off the backboard and catch it. But
it was a little bit bigger than most of the freshmen and sophomore we played against.
Yes,
back then. That's all that was.
Yeah, a lot of fun. I remember when you had some big feet. You still probably have some. What are your sizes?
Yeah, feet don't shrink. I wear 13s.
13s, yes.
I've been at size 13 since 7th grade, 8th grade. Like my feet have grown
just massive.
Then.
Yeah. How tall are you now?
6'3".
And what were you like? Remember when the doctor I remember when my parents would tell me, "Now, Travis, you're supposed to be 6'1", and I'm like, Yeah.
Why would a doctor tell you how tall you're supposed to be?
That's what they knew. Like back, I mean, for whatever reason, this doctor knew exactly how tall I was going to be. I would be bald, and no, I'm kidding, but balding at 15. But did you ever know what you were probably? No, you never.
I mean, my mom is about 6 foot tall.
Yeah.
So I always knew I was going to be tall, and it happened pretty quick.
Yeah.
My growth spurt was early.
Yeah. The match
Started with the feet, and then it stretched out up top.
the Machinostic Kyle Thornton, Jake Qualls, he was in that thing, but he kept on going.
Yeah.
But like Kyle and Matt, like they were ogres when we were in like.
Yeah, true. They had the man strength early.
Oh, and then it just and everyone else kind of caught up to him.
Yep.
Yeah, but yeah. So anyway, that was good times.
Good reminiscing, man.
Good times. So anyway, so we've reconnected. Your fantasy football league hates me because
now they don't. They probably hate me more than they hate you
because I got absolutely just destroyed in the trade.
2 of them.
Yeah. Oh, the first one was bad. If Eric hung on to his team and didn't trade, you wouldn't have made anything because
That's true.
everyone got injured, and I probably would have at least made the playoffs or something to that extent. You got DK. For OBJ, and then OBJ goes off, and I'm like, yo, F you. And then the next week he gets like season-ending injury. I'm like, okay, that sucked. And then I traded Derrick Henry because I thought Derrick Henry was going to start to plateau, and I traded for keepers for the next year because I knew I wasn't going to make playoffs. More than likely, I was going to make the playoffs. So I'm like, I'm not going to keep Derrick Henry in the first round. Can't do it anyway, I don't think. And so it was like, well, I'm going to get that receiver. I've already forgot him. From
this isn't helping
the Texans. Anyway, he
isn't helping the collusion claims half the league has against us.
He was legit.
You don't remember him, Will Fuller.
Here's
the thing, though. I won that championship, so whenever we talk about this league, you should address me as your champion.
Okay, champ.
The
champ.
Nobody likes to hear about any other person's fantasy football league, even if they're into fantasy football.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's true. But I just want to let you guys know that
we reconnected.
Yeah, we reconnected.
Football, golf, and your good laugh and our good stories.
Absolutely.
True.
All right. Well, what a lot of people like to hear, and we'll keep it for 5 minutes if you want, is if you want, go as far as you want. But when people, there's that missing gap when social media kicked in and from when we graduated. So it's like there's like a 8, 9, 10 year, like what was the filler? What happened? What'd you do after high school, college? Just talk. Tell me. Catch me up.
You got to work on your interview skills.
Hey, just say stuff.
Legit questions. This is like the interviewer at any post game at any sporting events. Like, tell me about.
Yeah. How did you feel? Bro. How did you feel about graduating high school? No. So after high school, where'd you go?
After about a year of skipping class at Green River Community College, I transferred to Wazoo, which is always where I knew I wanted to go and would ultimately end up going. Like my grandpa, he graduated from Washington State College in 1950, back when the WSC days.
Wow.
And I never even considered other colleges. And so I went to Wazoo. I basically took a year off between high school and college, even though I enrolled at Green River. I just hated it. I hated driving an hour between work and school and home to see the same people every single day at Green River and then paying thousands of dollars to do it. This wasn't for me. And so I would transfer to Wazoo, was there from 01 to 05. There's a million stories about that that I could tell over time, or it's 4 years of college at the greatest place to go to college in the world. So you've heard a lot of that from Joey already.
Yeah.
But 4 years there. As soon as I graduated, moved to Seattle. I graduated in May of 2005, and I moved to Seattle early July 2005. And so I was driving over for interviews at different companies, and that's like a 4-hour drive, right? So I was staying in Pullman for the summer and coming over here for interviews right after college. Got a job with the first company I interviewed with and moved over as soon as they made the job offer. I drove over, parked my car in their office, and spent an entire day walking around looking for apartments.
Wow.
Within walking distance, found one. So been living in Seattle ever since, and worked for that company for a while. That entire time I was at WSU, I started getting into doing my own rap, both freestyle battling and recording my own music. So I had a
pioneer. You're a pioneer back then.
No. Nobody that started rapping in the 2000s is a pioneer.
You were.
I was a pioneer.
Starting it. I mean, like people. I mean, that's when it started. Oh. That's when like the ciphers started to become a thing. That's where people started like doing small shows, small venues, and even some of your songs. You listen, guys. Like Erik's being very, very humble right now, but some of his songs were focused also with what he loves. And the Cougs were who he loved, and he created a couple songs that they still play at the stadium here and there. Do they pop
I don't know
that
about
up?
The stadium. So
are we getting there? Sorry.
No. I've got no order to this shit. So I started. I guess my what most people kind of remember me for or know me as that I don't keep close connection with. So for about 10 years, I was pretty heavily into my little wannabe rap career.
Yeah.
And as E-Drid, which it first started out as mostly freestyling, and I didn't know anything about it other than I loved rap. I loved lyricism.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, I guess it started in high school, really. I started writing some raps, and you and I would rap sometimes.
Right.
And then there was a couple other guys that we went to high school with that I would write some raps for, and we had just the cheesiest, worst songs. But then once I moved to school, or before then, even before then. So for the 1 year I was at Green River, I was working at Blockbuster Video over in Bonnie Lake, right? And one of the guys that was working with me there, his name is Dane. He's a close friend of mine, and he and we were big time both into it.
That's how you met Dane. I thought you met Dane at Wazoo.
No, so he never went to school over there. He visited a lot, but we met working together at Blockbuster Video, and we bonded over some of the more underground, lesser known rap that we both liked.
Yeah,
and I mean back then, this is early 2000,
right?
And so finding rap music out in this area, and because the radio station was just the pop
GRCC
stuff.
Would have just like one hour, 2 hours of just like underground hip hop a week. Yeah, that was it. Yeah. That's the only time you'd ever hear it.
Yeah, so finding the music was really dependent on the magazines that came out once a month from New York or whatever that you would read into, and you get deep into the back of it, and you say, oh, here's all the other new stuff coming out, because it was definitely not stuff played on Cube, whatever. So every Tuesday, I'd go to Fred Meyer and buy almost everything new release that came out in the rap category. And so would Dane. And, I mean, I was the one person I knew from Enumclaw that was that hardcore into it. This is a little bit before you could start just downloading anything you wanted quickly, free, and it became a little more popular and a little easier to find stuff at that point, right? So buying up every single album that dropped on Tuesdays, or stealing them most of the time, actually.
All right, bring him in, guys. He's in it.
I'm talking. This is allegedly
Dane, not me.
Yeah, I'm not going to snitch out at my friends like you snitched me out. But no, so we're working at Blockbuster together, and once the store closes, you throw on whatever CD you want over there, and so it was just like a holy shit. You listen. I believe it was specifically an album by Dead Prez called "Let's Get Free," but it was very underground. They had a couple songs on there that a lot of people got to know, but that was, for Dane and I, was like, holy shit, Dead Prez? Dead Prez? Like, it was just kind of that Spider-Man meme before the Spider-Man meme ever existed. We're like pointing at each other like, oh my God. And so that spawned a friendship where we would just start rapping all the time. And for the year that we worked there together before I moved to Wazoo, we'd go to parties all the time, freestyle battle everybody. So that was the era where it was just ciphers at parties and people would freestyle, and sometimes it would get competitive. Sometimes it was just you're rapping in a cipher and it's just
having fun
jokes, and you're incorporating every single thing that's within eyesight around you and making it rhyme. And then I moved to Wazoo and continued to do a lot of the same. On a college campus, there's more events going on than there are in the Enumclaw and Puyallup area that we'd party around. So there'd be legit freestyle competitions set up, and I'd enter all of those. There'd be parties that had more serious kind of a hip-hop scene where somebody's DJing and microphones and people would hop on the mic in battle. It's still Pullman, so it was a very whitewashed version of this shit, but there was plenty of it, so it was fun, and I would basically destroy everybody.
Oh, really?
I could chew through people in freestyle competitions at this time.
Wow.
And So I'm being less humble than I was earlier, but then
was shit.
Then I started recording, right? And so that was when things really got fun.
The 101 click.
That was Dane and I's little group.
The 101 click with the Q.
With a Q. Well, that's how you spell click.
Well, I know, but you listen. Yes, that's true. It's not the CLICK. So if you're looking up click, like clickbait,
do not look up 101 click though. I think I've successfully scrubbed all that crap off the internet, and there are a lot of embarrassing lyrics on there.
Oh, really?
Just the total cheese stuff.
Would you get cancel cultured right now? So any of that stuff?
There's some things I'm not proud of having said. Mostly just some ignorant homophobic stuff that I was just naive to.
And at that time, it's
still a problem in rap, but
right.
like that's the extent of anything I think cancer culture, other than just misogynistic stuff.
Right.
Is
right.
when you have less self-esteem than you portray on a song. That's more or less what that is. But
so you've scrubbed it off.
There was I regret that I scrubbed it off today, but there was, let me back up before we get to that. So I started recording music right at the end of my time at WSU.
Which were when the Coug songs started coming out?
It was my senior year, so 2004, 2005. I had been rapping at, freestyle competitions for 3 years at that point. And there was only a dozen guys that were consistently doing it, and you'd see them all, and it was a pretty cool little community, even though it was competitive and there wasn't like love for each other at the time. A couple of them I'm very good friends with today, but once we all started transitioning into recording, because there's this, in that era, it used to be so expensive to record. Like, you've got most of the equipment here we ever needed, but at the time, the equipment wasn't as software
There was no
driven.
Amazon.
It was all hardware
there was
driven. And so it was very expensive. You couldn't get into a recording studio for cheap.
You keep going. I'm going to show you something real quick while you are talking.
Sure. So, but it started to transition to where the software and the hardware became more affordable, so more people had recording studios. Yeah, I recognize that stuff. I've seen also.
That's a relic, isn't it?
Yeah. That's some of that stuff you got to hold on to, because some of the hardware becomes collectible for music heads.
But. Yeah, it was a DPS 12.
Yeah.
I got a credit card for the first time. That was the first purchase. $500 off of like it's an AKA. I don't even say it AKA. But yeah, DPS 12 first.
Nice.
Yeah, so. A relic, guys.
Yeah, it's antique. It's got some value probably. But anyway, I started recording a lot of music around my junior and senior year. And then the first song I recorded was one with Dane. And I don't even know if that song's still out there anywhere. But then the first time I went to the studio for myself to record my own music, I recorded like 4 or 5 songs that I wrote over the summer before my senior year, and one of them was the Coug song.
Yeah.
So I recorded a song called "Say Go, Say Cougs." I used somebody else's beat, the Fat Joe Lean Back instrumental, which was a era in rap where recording basically mixtape songs over other people's instrumentals with your own lyrics was
A-okay.
Well, not necessarily. Like, it was very prevalent. Like,
right.
I can't put those songs on streaming platforms today, because it's pirated music basically, but with my own lyrics. And but I did record a Cougar football song. They were hot. They had just smashed Texas in the Holiday Bowl and were a top 10 team for like the second year in a row.
That's after Joey left. So they got great.
They were good when he was there. No, he was on the good side of a bell curve, and then it got deep and dark over there in Pullman for a while.
When did MK show up? Was MK
MK
there?
was there at the same time as me, right?
Yeah.
So he was one of the stars on defense when the Cougar football team was very good for about 3-4 years in a row. And right at the peak of that, I recorded the Say Go, Say Cougs, and it took off. Like, that was it. I don't know how it happened still. I definitely hitched myself to the success of the Cougs.
Right.
And I recorded this song.
Kept the momentum going. But see, even before that, now back in the day, listening to Cube 93, when the Sonics would hit the playoffs, or the Mariners were playing well, like, Cube would come out with their own type of like riff, their own song.
that's right. Yeah.
Remember those back in the day, like Staying Alive, and it was
a lot of radio stations did it. There was a Seattle Mariners one in the playoff run in the early '90s that they used the Friends theme song from the TV show. I think it was the Friends. It was one. It was like super cheesy pop.
Yeah.
So there was people that did.
So that's the thing. That was the thing back then. That was probably okay. I'm gonna do my own one.
Yeah.
Cougs are hot right now. I'm gonna have fun with it, and so it took off. Were you playing it at shows, or how were you getting it out there?
So I put it up online, and it was on a website called SoundClick, which I don't even know exists.
Was it
today.
CLIQUE?
No, this is spelled the way you want to spell it. This is actually like click with a mouse, SoundClick. But this will date the whole era a little bit. So
Napster.
It was in the Napster area, but you couldn't. You went to Napster to download stuff you knew. If you wanted to promote stuff that nobody knew, there was this website called SoundClick, which is a lot like SoundCloud now. Yeah. I uploaded the music there, but and then I printed a whole bunch of flyers myself, and then I photocopied them at the place I was working, 4 per page, hacked them up with a paper cutter, and I myself, Kellen, Jake, a couple of roommates that we grew up with that went to the Wazoo with me at the same time, and a few other people would help me just litter all over Pullman with these flyers. And the flyer was a Cougar logo, Say Go Say Cougs by E-Drid, download at, and then it had this link. And this was before like there was Bitly's and whoever else lets you shorten links. So it was like soundcloud.com/ and then about 15 characters. It was super random.
Capital K, lowercase j.
But oh my God, it worked. And so I also would just be blowing it up on people's emails, and by people, like radio stations I'd send it to. And that didn't really work until the flyers caught on. And then I'd post it on different forums online there's a lot of hardcore Coug fans, right? And especially for the football team and loyalists to the core. And so there's like different websites where on the forums people are constantly talking Cougar football. And I posted it on there, and that certainly helped take it off beyond just Pullman. But in college, when you got a whole bunch of kids, and especially in a college town with nothing else really going on other than being a college student in Pullman, word spread very fast. And so I had these flyers everywhere, everybody's car, every apartment complex, every dorm that we could get into. We would leave stacks of them, stapled stuff up everywhere. Very grassroots promotional effort for a music career, right?
Right.
Left stacks of them at every business in town that would let me, like the pizza joints and whatnot. And it caught on very fast. So school year starts, and this is when this is all happening right at the beginning of the school year, which in Pullman is late August. Right around the time football's starting, and in no time, it was already popular amongst the whole campus.
Nice.
And at college and at the football games. And so in the RV lots, you'd hear it at multiple RVs pumping at the same time. They never really played it at the stadium right away. They were worried about the piracy issue with the music in the background. So I went to a recording studio in Spokane and recorded an alternate version over a instrumental that I had the rights to. And I think the stadium played that for a little while. But the radio stations all picked it up. Like there's a radio station based out of Moscow, Idaho, that is the biggest radio station over there, and they would play it at least once an hour, even when it wasn't a game day. Like all week, it was just a thing.
Wow.
Cube played it over here in Seattle. Every single the 5 o'clock
traffic jam. Yeah.
It would play. They would mix it in with the actual Fat Joe song.
But
it would play every single day during the 5 o'clock traffic jam for the entire football season.
That's insane.
In part because one of the radio hosts at the time on Cube, Erik Johnson, you probably remember that name. He was one of the radio DJs or personalities on Cube. I think it was Eric. No, Erik Johnson, whatever. It wasn't Erik Johnson. That's the Como guy.
Yeah.
Some other guy.
Slocum. No, that Como guy's... Did we go to school with him? No.
No.
Okay,
no.
all right.
Anyway, I forget the guy's name, but he was one of the radio personalities.
Eric Powers of the people.
That might be it. Yeah,
Eric Powers of the people.
There we go. You got it. So I told you your memory is better than mine. You don't even know this story, and you're better at some of the storytelling details.
I just remember Eric Powers of the people. Cube 93. He didn't even come out to the.
It was Eric Powers of the people. So his wife was a Coug. All right. So he loved it. He played it on Seattle every single radio station every day. It played at a bunch of other radio stations, especially over in Eastern Washington. somewhere in my box of memorabilia, I got like a plaque that this radio station was like, it was the most requested song for a year straight.
No way.
Yeah, so I got some cool little nuggets. Like
that's cool.
But this is one of the first songs I ever recorded.
Yeah.
And it was one of the first songs I ever wrote that actually had a song format. Like I would always write raps. And I didn't even understand or appreciate that a verse has 12 to 16 bars, and then a chorus is usually 4 to 8, maybe 6. So I didn't understand any of this stuff until I wrote the Coug song. And so I had all these verses written, but when I wrote the Coug song, it was in the middle of the night. I woke up. It was the summer between my junior and senior years. It just was an idea that clicked, and I
just need to get pen to pad.
Yeah, I just started writing, and before I even knew what instrumental I was going to record to, I had these verses written, and then the chorus, and then it all just kind of came together, and then I found the instrumental I wanted to use, because back then, you downloaded all the instrumentals to songs so that when your friends came over and you were ciphering and freestyling, you had a beat to put on.
Right.
I started flipping through, and I found out the lean back instrumental, and then I had to rewrite some of the lyrics to make sure it fit, the flow fit anyway. But the radio stations, it took off, and that was exciting because my whole senior year, the Cougs were still really good at football. It played all over the place. Every single night we'd go out to bars, and by the end of the night, at least one of the bars would let me grab the mic and hop up on stage.
Oh, for real?
That was fun. The first couple of times before people really knew the song, what it was or anything, a lot of people on campus heard it for the first time in these bars, or at like frat parties or any other parties where there was a legit DJ and a microphone set up, and I could, because and going to school in Pullman, when you party at night, sometimes you go to the bars, sometimes you go to house parties. They're all on the same couple of hills, and you wander between a bunch of them. So there'd be nights where it'd be like, okay, I'm coming over here to this party, passing out CDs.
You'd be strategic about it.
Yeah, grab a microphone in the place, give the DJ the CD, put it on. But then the main club in Pullman at the time was called Shakers. It's since been called a few things. Hopefully, it'll definitely reopen after COVID. But the last place, I think, went out of business over the last year. But anyway, started doing that. And so it caught fire pretty fast, and a lot of fun things happened because of that. Like I have some pretty cool recordings of voicemails I kept where friends over here, you never left one, jerk. Friends over here would be listening to Coug randomly, and the song would come on and be like, holy shit, and they'd call me while the song's playing. And they'd be like, oh my God, I'm over here riding around and your song's on, and stuff like that. So fun stuff and good memories there. But that was literally the first 4 or 5 songs I recorded. And I ended up recording close to 150 songs over like 5 or 6 or closer to 10 years probably.
Yeah.
And doing shows all over Seattle, got flown around, drove around for some shows too when it was going really well. But yeah, for the better part of 10 years, I was pretty active in that. And that was, that's the most exciting tidbit from, hey, let's catch up what happened to that 10-year gap. This is what I was going to say. You asked me about it earlier. Yeah. There was at one point midway through my career at the company I was working for at the time where I was looking for other jobs, and you apply for jobs, you interview for jobs. Any good company is going to do their background digging on you, right?
Yeah.
And the last thing I wanted at the time was me applying for these management jobs at other companies and people stumbling across, and not only finding, I think a lot of people still today, but especially then had, there's knee-jerk reactions amongst the ignorant to rap or hip-hop and that culture. And a lot of my lyrics were not only profane, but like I said earlier, some stuff I'm not proud of that were just thrown in half-hazard.
Yeah, not even thinking about this. Right. Rhymes go.
Being an ignorant, young, naive person, and the cruel things I might have said about women in some songs or whatever. Sure. Right. Yeah. So having them come across that online, so I scrubbed it all pretty successfully on the internet for a while. Which I regret now because I don't care about that. Like, I mean, I would have taken down the songs with the lyrics I don't like, but there's still 80 plus songs, if not 100 plus songs that...
Are they gone? Like, you don't even have them?
No, I have them all.
Oh, okay.
They're all out there, and I'll send you a link to a folder that has them all. And I keep thinking about, like, okay, of the 150 or so songs, there's only about 50 that I can't use because they're recorded over someone else's music. The rest of them are all beats that I have the rights to use or whatever. So I might put them out on streaming one day just because. Because I get contacted about it pretty regularly still.
It's true. Happens. Like even stuff that I listened to as a kid, I'm like, now my kids are growing up, and I'm like, what music? Oh man, when I was in 8th grade, 9th grade, you kind of like take music and you go, oh yeah, that's like something that that I can resonate with and feels good. I'm gonna go to YouTube first, probably out there in YouTube land, and then thank you, and then from there, listen to it. And I found like old stuff I used to listen to, and I'm sure there's people out there like, oh, dude, I remember when I listened to a song by E-Drid, and
yeah, there's regularly people will repost the Coug song on YouTube with their own video. It's not my accounts or anything like that. And so the Coug songs, I've since recorded another Coug song towards kind of the end when I wanted a version of the song that didn't have the piracy issues with someone else's beat or the copyright issues. And something that was less dated, like in the original Coug song, I made a lot of references to that team from that year.
Yeah.
And so I wanted something that, while I was still recording, and I was constantly getting, at the time, requests for a new Coug song.
Yeah. And that was The Champ Is Here, right?
No, that was a Seahawks song I did.
Oh, that was a
Seahawks song I did about 2 years after the...
Which got played. Did it get played?
That got played, yeah.
And
well, so when I made the Coug song, that was, at the time, like the only Coug song. But then about 2 years later, whenever the Seahawks made a Super Bowl run...
Right.
There were dozens of local MCs who put out Seahawks songs.
Sure.
And at least half of them would get played somewhere. And so, yeah, that one got a little bit of play, but there were so many of those, and the radio station's not going to play 12 Seahawks songs back to back. But
right.
I love that because, moving into Seattle after graduating from Wazoo, getting myself embedded in the Seattle hip-hop scene, doing shows all over the city and the surrounding area. There's a bunch of different local hip-hop nights, like open mics and other shows and venues that would book acts on the weekends. And doing that usually, at least 3 times a week, sometimes 7 straight days a week doing shows. There was, 20 or 30 different MCs who would be part of that circuit. And as soon as I started doing that in mid-2005, right after moving from Pullman, everybody knew of the Coug song on the radio station from the local hip hop scene, and it's not like they were like thrilled about it. It was new. Yeah, well, yeah. It was something that was frustrating at the time because there was only basically one major hip hop radio station in Seattle, and they were never playing local music for the most part. Like there was a Sunday show that had like 2 or 3 hours on a Sunday that would play a mix of underground hip hop from across the country, and they'd mix in 3 or 4 hip hop songs from local artists at the time, and so that was cool. But the Coug song was every day on Cube for a while, and so local artists knew of that. And then a couple years later, when the Seahawks make a run, there's all these, and I'm by no means taking credit for it because it was happening nationally. It was just a thing that all of a sudden, every year there would be whatever sports team was hot.
Right.
Everyone from the underground artist to Ludacris or whoever was like the mainstream artist at the time would start making these.
Yeah. I think even Macklemore, like later on, so it was a thing that everyone's been doing.
Yeah, that's. I won't take credit for all the Seattle Seahawks artists who came and did their thing, but I will 100% hate Macklemore for jacking my swag on that My Oh My track. I'm half kidding.
Is there beef there?
No, not at all. Not at all. There was a point in time here. I have a few claims to fame with my hip hop career. Okay. The Coug song is the most popular thing. I've done shows with national artists in different places. Like I opened up for half of the Loonies were in town once.
Really?
In Seattle, and me and a guy I was doing music with, Fenny Casino. He and I had a bunch of songs together, and we performed a few of them before Loonies did their thing. And it was only a couple of the guys from Loonies. So
yeah.
And then I flew up to Anchorage a couple different times. I got flown up there to do shows. One of them was with Bone Thugs and Harmony.
Wow.
Like 3 of them, 4 of them, not all of them.
Yeah. But it was busy, too busy?
I know. You know what? I know who you're talking about, of course, but I never really got into them. But anyway. And then a couple of other groups, I was like, it's cool to have rubbed shoulders with some of these guys.
I mean, you won a trip over to New York and got to meet Ja Rule before the whole Fire Festival.
Yeah, a good 2 decades before. And I won that trip to New York freestyling on Cube.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, so they used to do the roll call thing, right? Where you'd call up, you're
yeah.
live on the line. What's your name? E-Drid, where you from? I would always say Seattle because I would have gotten the phone hung up on me if I said
Click.
Click.
That's what they call the 101 click. You'd be
that one's spelled with the CK.
Yeah, you'd be the 360 click.
But I won. So for about 6 months, I don't know how long it lasted. For a few months, probably just 2-3 months, when they would do the Freestyle Fridays on the roll call, if you won, they would enter you into a drawing, and of the drawing, there was this trip to New York for this concert with Wu-Tang, Ja Rule. Ja Rule brought out Jay-Z as a guest. Like this epic concert that was all wrapped into this Sprite's Rocket Cash promotion. If you remember the caps of Sprites. And so the launch party for that was this just insane concert in New York City. And every urban radio station market across the country did the same type of thing Coug did, and flew out people, all expenses paid, for, I don't remember, a week. Maybe it was just 4 or 5 days. And so over the 12 weeks that Coug ran this promo, I won the freestyle thing at least 2-3 times. And so I had at least a 25% chance of winning the grand prize drawing, and I did.
Wow.
And so they flew me out there. I took
Hosman.
Ryan Hosman, +1. That was the first
+1.
time in New York.
Yeah,
that was a great time. So that's another cool little claim to fame from the rap stuff. The radio station love. I got interviewed on ESPN's West Coast radio platform.
Wow.
On the way to a Coug game in Seattle back when the Cougs had an annual football game in Seattle. Cool stuff like that. So it's fun to look back on, and I do regret taking the music off the internet.
Right.
So I probably will take the original music that I have and put it up.
Put it back on there. Sounds. Hey, can I use some of it?
Absolutely, man.
All right.
I'll ping you with you can listen to all of it, and then I'll tell you which songs, because of copyright stuff.
Yeah, sounds
will
good.
Get you in trouble for playing.
All right. Well, that's good, because I think I've got some copyright songs that I've already played that I need to scrub off myself.
There's some. We'll have to dig into that, and that's one of the things I wanted to, as far as the business of the pod,
talk about stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
You can play stuff for a certain amount of time, or maybe you have to talk over it or manipulate it in some way that makes it.
Yeah.
Whatever. We'll
all right. We'll talk about. So now the resume, since you scrubbed everything off the internet, they're like, you looks good. Like, you look very accredited. You've done a lot of cool things here. But back in let's see here, 1998, when you turned 17, you rented "Spit on My Grave."
We dug into your rental history.
And so can we talk about that?
Remember the time that were you okay? So we speaking of bad rental decisions, we rented that movie. You've told that story.
Yeah,
my mom laid into us, rightfully so.
Oh yeah.
Worst movie ever. But were you also part of the trip that we went to Video Update or Auburn Valley Video, where we tried to get some old stranger dude to rent us either barbed wire or some other porn?
Yeah, I
don't even think it was legit porn. I think it was soft porn.
No, I do remember this though. I do remember spending the night at your house, and Russ and Andy, they rented striptease with Demi Moore, and we were on, because you had a split level with the stairs because downstairs was your bedroom area. We stood on the stairs watching behind them because they're sitting on the couch, seeing them
backs to us,
trying to see some boobs.
We're getting a hard on through the silhouettes of my parents. This is creepy, weird. Watching Demi Moore. Yeah.
Hey, the things you go through as a teenager just to see some skin.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Oh man. We should have another movie night where we watch striptease and barbed wire.
Are you just using it as an excuse so you can watch it again?
Basically.
Hey everyone, thanks so much for catching up with us. It was great to have E-Drid on the mic again. Hear that flow. You still got that voice.
I had that going for me. A lot of white rappers just have a nasally, high-pitched voice. So
yeah, well, that's why I stopped. That DPS 12 is full because no one knows.
I heard you tell the story, and I also heard some of your raps. That's your voice is not why you stopped.
That's true. That is true. Shout outs real quick. I'm going to shout out E-Drid for coming down here. Last year, Drid had, and you think of your shout outs, or who you're going to want to shout out, but I'm going to shout out E-Drid because when I was last year, I was really, so the prior year, I hit like a 3-month depression in the spring. And I didn't release any episodes. I was just kind of out of it. So I was really nervous hitting in 2020, the springtime. But I was also more geared up for it because I don't know if it's just because of the seasonal depression or if it's because, there's that lull where you don't really get to do anything like Christmas and Thanksgiving. Like, even though that's cold weather, you're still seeing people. This is prior to COVID, but you're still seeing people. You're still hanging out with people. You're going to parties. And then like January hits and it kind of slows down. And then February hits and then March, and it just kind of gets that lull. And then you start getting a little sun in April and May. But again, by that point, I was just like done in 2019. So 2020, I was like, okay, I was done. I'm gonna be focused. And then we hit COVID. But I was focused on getting through, planning events, seeing people, even though COVID is happening, do it safe, figure it out. Drid and I reconnected, and he's like, "Hey, let's go golfing. Let's go golfing. You see if we can get Joey. Let's all go." I'm like, "Sounds awesome, dude. Let's do it." And so we went golfing, and we again played it safe, COVID safe. He had his own cart. We did everything right. But it was good to still like be together and have that conversation and just chat it up. And he's like, "Hey man, I got some ideas for you for the podcast." And I'm like, "Oh man, I'm all for it." And then he's like, "What you spend a lot of money probably on beer. You probably spend a lot of money on this and that. What about getting a sponsor? Go hitting up a sponsor." And see, for me to have someone believe in what I was doing so much for them to think that I should be like going elsewhere was like, whoa, like, Maybe I will. And Joey tries to take credit. Joey's like, "Oh, I talked to Sean." It's like, okay, buddy. But Erik came up with the idea. Maybe you went and said hi to Sean. But, so yes, at Cole Street Brewery, one of the sponsorships. And then Mazatlan, talked to Andy at Mazatlan, and Andy was in. And then Bordeaux Wine Bar as well. Talked to the owners there, and we've done some events there. Anyway, shout out to Erik for like taking it from step to just like this goofball.
Is that the name of the episode now?
Bookends. Goofball bookends. Just a fun hobby thing to now where there's more obligations, as I call them. It's like a hobby obligation where I enjoy it. There's sponsorships. There's some fun selling T-shirts and stickers and all that. But I wouldn't have been able to do it without Erik just kind of giving me that push, And so major shout out to Erik, and I appreciate you, man.
Yeah,
thank you.
Thanks for that. I think it's cool because I think there's a lot of value that you're putting out there and you're seeing it like Sean and Cole Street, for example, or Andy and Mazatlan. It's valuable for them to be part of it, and it's valuable for you. It has to be valuable for you too, right?
Right.
And so, that ties back into, and I got burnt out on the music stuff because for a number of reasons, but there's a lot that you pour into it,
right,
and the dollars are few and far between,
right,
but the bills aren't, and so you got to keep paying those. But the point being, like, I've learned over time through that and through other stuff at work that you've got to understand your value and charge a price. And I saw you out here working your ass off, pouring a lot into it, admitting on the mic you'd get exhausted by it at times.
Yeah.
But also hearing that you love it and you're hungry for it and you want to do more of it and you want to find a way to turn it into a full-time gig. And it's like, I know there's value there, and you're just not charging your value, worth, and price to the people that find it valuable to be a part of.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's what inspired those ideas. And, it's cool to see it and in person, be part of it. So happy to be here for it. Thanks for the kind words. You asked for my shout outs.
Yeah.
I know who listens to your pod, so we'll shout some of them out.
Yeah, for sure.
fellow Patreon,
Yes.
and BFF of me, Kellen Hall, and I'm shouting him out
KO.
because I know we're going to Cole Street, and he bought a couple beers for us.
Ironically enough, he bought it this week. He's like, "Hey, but you guys have to be down there together." And Drid's like, "Well,
this is like within an hour of us solidifying plans. I think we're all just missing each other. So,
sure.
So shout out to him. Shout out to Sean at Cole Street. I'm excited to finally try some of his beers. Shout out to Joey. I like all of your guests. I think I'm most loyal to the Hollering with Hollenbeck, probably the Coug in me. I love what you're doing with Sarah and your brother. Shout out to them. Oh, I want to shout out Fletcher Nelson because once a year, like clockwork, you screen grab a Facebook comment where Fletcher Nelson, who we grew up with and went to school with, comments about me being like I'm hanging on to the last person to request airtime from me. Like it used to happen all the time back in the day. Yeah. Fletcher requests my presence on the pod, so shout out to him.
Shout out to him. I haven't seen him in
who knows how long.
Yes.
I'm forgetting somebody.
Shout out your sister real quick too, because your sister will listen, will jump on, and then I'll get even like when Sarah and I did ours about a month, 2 months, 3 months ago. Sarah was messaging me saying, "Dude, Jesse is just giving me a play-by-play of this podcast." She's like, "Listen, oh, that was funny when you guys said this," and that's what. So that was a shout out to her as well. Anyone who jumps on listens, so
true.
Appreciate that.
Shout out to the listeners, man.
And I got to shout out Andy and Russ.
Yeah, mom and dad.
They're awesome.
Yeah.
We had the nice safe distance when they came through here in the RV last year. Steve's Story, awesome. Shout out to Story as well. Well, shout out Trevor. What was the other? What's your other? I don't.
Trevor's my stepbrother that's roughly the same age as us, and then I've got 2 older stepbrothers, Mark and Ken, who won't hear this, but shout out to them.
Didn't know them too well. I just remember one, and then this is my final story. One of my favorite stories from Safeway Land is when Eric had to go to work. And I spent the night, so his shift was like at, 5 a.m., 6 a.m., maybe he's like a helper clerk, and I was the courtesy clerk at 10 a.m. But that morning, from his house, no one was home. And I was just prank calling Safeway the entire from his phone number.
Oh, God. There are some things like that are so funny when you live through it and you know what prank calls were like. Because you can't do prank calls anymore. Even if you block your number, it's like people don't answer spam calls anymore. Yeah, oh, man. That's
Shout out to Kellen, who had said... Another thing, he's like, "Hey, I was listening to the podcast."
I was still going to hit you with him. He snitched.
He snitched.
Oh, that's a good one. We can pin that for it might be a year before I'm back in here on the mic with you. But that was us.
Yeah,
that was me specifically calling you from soundboards, prank calls, because you were one of the few people who actually
would pick up the phone.
Would stay on the phone. Yeah. Everybody would pick up the phone because this was like still early enough to where you didn't ignore calls.
Right.
And we'd call people up and use the soundboards on a website that would splice together audio clips of like, there would be 50 different Michael Jackson clips and you could talk to somebody in MJ's voice or.
Oh, man.
But whenever we tried to explain it to people, when they'd come over, like, because you're drinking with friends every night in Pullman, basically.
Yeah.
And you'd start at somebody's apartment. And so when it was our apartment, we would talk about, here's how nights end. we come home drunk, no girls with us. So the 3 of us huddle around a computer and prank call people from these soundboards. And like, what the hell are you talking about? I was like, well, we know Travis will answer the phone. So we'll show you by calling Travis. And we'll have a full conversation with you. And it's either Michael Jackson or like, what was the other one we used all the time?
It was like Adam Sandler movies. It would be like Tommy Boy.
It was Jack Black. It was
Jack Black.
I forget. It was probably a mix of his movies.
Yeah.
But there was all these little sound clips, and it kind of looked like an MPC, which is the machine with the pads on it you make beats with. And you would just press different buttons that you knew would say different things.
Yeah.
And so we would talk to you through this other guy, and it was just hilarious.
Yeah. And for me, my whole goal that entire time, I've gotten pranked a zillion times. I've done pranking as well. But the whole goal for me was to see if I could reverse the prank back to them. Like, this isn't bothering me. I'm not like upset. Let's just have a conversation. Let's see how long they're going to stay on the line doing this.
Yeah.
So
that was good. I'm glad we were able to clear the air on that. That's been hovering over my. It wasn't Jack Black calling you, asking you to do cock push-ups. It was me. Cock push-ups? It's where you lay on the ground. No.
You got the wheeze
that
out.
part out.
No, we're going to give that in. Everyone, thanks so much for listening. Any more shout-outs before you go? Shout out to Dane, all that, all the fun stuff.
Everybody that came up in the story.
Yeah.
Big
shout-outs
today. Shout-outs to them.
And Fat Joe for the beat.
Yeah. Oh man, I wish I could ask him if he ever heard it. I know he never has, but you never know. The reach of that stuff was exciting. I have a cease and desist letter from the NCAA for that song.
Oh, really?
So I know it got into some people's ears.
Yeah.
There's no way it got into Fat Joe's ears, but I always think
maybe it did.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
And he's like, "This is great. This is good."
He's like, "Why don't I get any spin time in Seattle on Coug?" Well, somebody jacked your song, bro.
So, Fat Joe, DM us. We'll bring you on the show at some point.
He's doing his own podcast, man.
What's it
you
called?
Laugh it off. We're gonna make it happen. I don't know what it's called. I don't listen to it.
Erik Madrid sucks. Thanks for listening, everyone.
True. Cheers.
Welcome to the greatest of the greatest. A podcast that you never knew you needed. With interviews from people you have never met, or maybe you have once or twice. Asking questions and knowing more than you want to know about them.